One of the weird things about YouTube is I might publish a video, like I'm recording this and we're gonna publish it, and you might be watching it 5 years later. So I don't know when you're watching this, hello, but at this very moment, there's 200 days left in 2021. And that's literally the moment, that's what inspired this video. I was on a CEO call, a strategy call with a CEO that's in the program. And I was like, man, we're half done on this year. And for both of us in that moment, there was this moment of pause where we're like, oh man, the year is half over. And regardless of whether you're crushing it and you're gonna hit your number this year and you're exceeding it, or you're behind, pausing and reflecting in the middle of the year or at the end of every quarter is super important. Pausing and reflecting and revamping your strategy to grow your SaaS business is paramount. Pulling together your leadership team to actually talk through what's holding you back, what you can accelerate, what's working, what's not, and revamping the strategy and the plan of action, super important. And the companies and CEOs and leadership teams that do this are able to grow a lot faster. The ones that just hope that things will just turn around and kind of ignore looking at the ugly, whether it's kind of good ugly or bad ugly or whatever it may be, they fall behind. But here's the question. How do you actually structure a strategy offsite? How do you actually look at whether your strategic plan is working or not, what part of it is working and what's not? How do you understand what's wrong with the business and what you need to fix? How do you actually get people together into a room and make it productive? So in this episode, I'm gonna walk you through the 3 principles. These are the 3 principles I'm gonna walk you through that you absolutely need to know to revamp your strategy, to actually hold the strategy offsite, and to ensure that you are set up for success and for growth in the next half of this year. Intro. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Unstoppable. I'm TK, and on this channel, I help SaaS founders like you grow your SaaS businesses faster with an unstoppable strategy. If you are new to this channel, be sure to hit the subscribe button and that bell icon, because 2 to 3 times a week, I bring you an episode like this with actionable strategies to grow your SaaS business faster with the TK energy. Now, if you're already part of my coaching programs, if you are part of this community, welcome back. It's seriously awesome to see you over here. So I was taking a personality test the other day. Don't ask me why, it's one of those MBTI tests. Oftentimes when you're doing a strategy workshop or a leadership summit, you take the test and you can understand how different people operate and different people work. And so I've always taken one. And now that I'm working in a brand new company and a brand new team, Unstoppable, and we're growing out our team, I thought it would be good to kind of take the test again and look at it. Now, when I was CEO, I always tested as an ENTJ, an extrovert, all the time. But it was always like 50-50, look right at that borderline of like the 50%, but just crossed over to the extrovert side. So I was curious and I took the test, and turns out that instead of an ENTJ, this time around, like I just tested just like totally honest and like I don't need to prove anything to anyone. I don't need to be the gregarious CEO. I'm purely a SaaS advisor and coach to now almost 100 CEOs. Like that's what I do, and I don't have to impress anyone. I've had my success, so let me just take the test. And turns out I scored as an INTJ. Essentially, I'm an introvert. And when I dug into it, I took this test in this website, I'll link to it below. It's not affiliate or anything. They go deeper, they're like, here's what you are, and here's how you work, and here's the type of careers you should be in. And here's some stats around what you are. And it turns out INTJs are only 1.9% of the population, and we're known as the architects. And the architects are these people that like to be very strategic. They like to plot and plan. They like to be behind the scenes and say, cool, here's how we're gonna attack. Here's the 50 different angles, and here's the perfect way to entry. And if something goes wrong, here's the other angles we've thought through already. And I read that and I smiled because A, I didn't have to pretend to be extroverted anymore, because I really pushed myself to be more extroverted when I was CEO, even though you don't need to, like I learned that the hard way. But B, I'm exactly doing what I love. Like I'm the strategist for CEOs worldwide, and I get to think about the angle, think about problem solving, think about frameworks, and bring that to the people that I work with, the founders that I work with, to help them thrive. And it just made me smile because, you know, it's one of those things that I wish everyone realized at some point, where you truly realize what you love doing and why you're doing it, and it all just makes sense. And the reason I share that is because it made one more thing very clear to me. It made very clear to me why I love strategy and why I love strategy offsites, why I love crafting a strategy, why I love tethering myself to a strategy. It's core to my nature as an INTJ. We are strategists. In this episode, I want to walk you through how I think about strategy offsites and how you can too, and how you can craft a strategy, how you can revamp your strategy to grow your SaaS business. And as usual, like I do for this channel all the time, I'm going to break it down to 3 core principles that you absolutely need to know. So if you're excited to get started, go ahead and smash that like button and let's go to principle number 1. So the first step in actually revamping your strategy for your SaaS business, principle number 1, step number 1, is to actually find choke points. This is something that's the most important thing. I've seen strategy offsites where people will come in, we're all sitting in a room, we're all staring at each other, no one's got a plan on what we're gonna do, and that's horrible. What you wanna do is go in with data, and what you wanna do is spend time talking through what are the choke points in the business. Now, I have a very specific way I like to do this. The way I like to do this is I think every single SaaS business is essentially a flywheel. And this is not something I invented, but every SaaS business does have a core flywheel. And in that flywheel, there's gonna be specific inflection points where you can have choke points. And what's super important is to identify what the flywheel is and identify what parts of that flywheel have the choke points. Because as you know with flywheels, if there's a choke point, everything stops. But if you make everything optimized, it goes faster and faster and faster and faster and faster, and you grow faster. And so step number 1 in any strategy offsite or any strategic discussion you're having on how do we actually grow, what's our growth plan, what's our strategy to win, when you're pulling a leadership together, is to actually get in sync on the choke points around the business. If you wanna dig more into how a flywheel for a SaaS business works, what are some metrics to look at, check out this video on my core SaaS metrics and how the best SaaS businesses are actually flywheels. You don't have to go right now, I'll link to it below, but you can check it out at the end of this video. So that's principle number 1. What you wanna do is spend a healthy amount of time thinking about the choke points in the business and having a proactive discussion around it. Once you've done that, then you go to principle number 2. And again, I've seen bad offsites where we're together and we're basically signing up for everything. We're saying, cool, let's do this and let's solve this problem and this problem and this problem and that problem. And everyone's like, yep, we're gonna be awesome and we're gonna totally hit our number. We're gonna do all these things. The problem with that is you're not making choices. Great strategy is when you're making choices. Bad strategy is when you have a wish list. And the way you make choices is principle number 2. You actually start to talk about what is our strategic design. And again, this is something that no one needs to invent. You just have to follow the core principles. Great strategy defines and identifies the core. What is the core of your business that you are actually going to strengthen? And then it separates out what are the things that are expansion. Great businesses, great leadership teams know how to identify actually what's core to their business and what they need to strengthen. And they know how to identify what are 1 or 2 expansion bets that they're gonna do so that they can actually be strategic and think longer term. In some cases, you may do both. In some cases, you may have to do one. It depends on what stage you're at. It depends on what the competitive dynamics are. And that's part of what you would identify in the choke points section. But once you've done that, then you'll start getting into, well, what is our strategy design? What's our core? How do we define it? How do we strengthen it? And then how do we expand from there? That's step number 2. Now, if you want to dig a little bit more around how this strategy design part works, what are the different components to it, I talk about some of the principles around this in this video. You don't have to go right now, I'll link to it below, but this goes a little bit deeper into what strategy design looks like and how I think about it. So if you're starting to approach this and you want some good principles that you can start to internalize so you can lead these strategy offsites and revamp your strategy and actually think strategically about the growth of your business, you can check that video out as well. Now, I do have the 3rd principle, but I'm not gonna go to it yet. Let me just pause here for a second. You're starting to see the power in this. You're starting to see the power of getting your leadership team into a room, or even just your co-founder if you're super early, and working through what are the choke points in our business, what are our core metrics, let's look at the data, and based on that, let's define our core, and let's think about the expansion opportunities. If you just do this part, even for half a day, if you start to see the power of how you can zoom out from the day-to-day and start to think bigger picture about what we need to execute, you can start to see the power in this. Can I just get a yes in the comments below? Also smash that like button for the YouTube algorithm. It really loves it when you do that. Also, if you're following these steps and you're like, you know what, we need to do a strategy offsite, we need to rethink what our strategy win is, we need to actually understand our business in a deeper way, we need to define the core. If you're thinking about these pieces and these principles are resonating with you, but you're not quite sure where to start, you don't quite have the time to dig through all the principles and all the videos and all the books that I've read to do this, then I invite you to check out my SaaS Scale program. The SaaS Scale program is for founders and leadership teams that are already at multiple millions in revenues and are looking to scale faster. I'll tell you more about it at the end of this video, but let's go to principle number 3. Principle number 3 is important. Here's why. Before I tell you what it is, here's why it's important. I've seen offsites also where I've been to bad offsites and I've been to great offsites, and it's been a mix of both. And so I've seen offsites also where we've signed up for everything, and then we said, whoa, hang on, we can't do everything. Let's actually just like figure out how we need to prioritize things. So then we did the work to define the core. We said what's expansion opportunities. And then time ran out and we all felt really good. We went to dinner and we gave each other high fives and we said how inspirational it was. And then we went back to our normal jobs. And a quarter later, we got back together and we were like, whatever happened to all those things we said we just went back to status quo. And this is one of the biggest problems with strategy offsites, is why they have a bad rep. It's one of the big problems with just thinking strategically. It's hard to actually get it to the execution side. And so this is why the third principle is so important. The third principle is you need to actually define and align around your OKRs, objectives and key results. Now, I'm gonna go into OKRs, but let me tell you why this exists. The reason this exists is until you put an actual name to an initiative, until you put a name and a responsible party, a single throat to choke, as the folks at Bridgewater used to call it, which I still use today. If there isn't a single person that's committing and establishing the social contract to say, yes, my team and I will be responsible in spearheading this specific effort, which will help strengthen our core. It'll be an actual objective, and here's how we're gonna measure it, and this will help us actually win this year and hit our number. Unless you do that piece, people are just gonna all walk away feeling really good, thinking the other guy is responsible or the other gal is responsible. And that's a problem. And this is why the best companies in the world have used objectives and key results, it's an actual framework, to actually define what their objectives are, how they're gonna measure those key results, and how they're actually going to drive execution to make them a reality. Now, OKRs are not the only frameworks out there. There's other frameworks out there. There's EOS. There's more than I can mention. But OKRs are quite popular, especially in tech, especially in startups. And that's why I like them. And this is the third step. If the first step is let's identify the choke points, let's analyze the business, let's look at the metrics and really identify what are all the choke points that exist in the business. If step 2 is let's design a strategy around that and be purposeful about it to overcome these choke points, then step number 3 is to drive alignment and commitment around here are our objectives, here's how we're gonna measure it, and here's what happens if we don't hit it. This is super important. These 3 things come together to actually create not just a strategic vision, it creates a strategic plan, and it gives you a framework to execute against and something to keep checking into so that at the end of the offsite, you actually are translating into real results and real impact on the business. So to recap, here are the 3 principles to revamp your strategic plan for the rest of the year, to actually accelerate the growth, to make sure that you actually have a plan to grow. Number 1, find the choke points in the business. Find the choke points across the flywheel in the business. I'll link to the video below if you want to dig more into that. Number 2, define your strategy. Think about what's your core. What are the expansion areas? And number 3, actually develop OKRs so that you can say who's responsible for what and here's how we go about it. Now, those are the 3 principles. So that's what you need to know. Now, if you're a SaaS CEO and you actually want to revamp your growth strategy and you want to align your team, and you want to follow these 3 steps. Number 1, you actually want to find the choke points in your business. You want to pull the right data. You actually want to design your strategy and you want to follow a specific process I have for that. And you actually want to define and execute on your OKRs, and I teach you exactly how to do that as well. Then I invite you to join my SaaS Scale program. You can get all the details on the program at tkcater.com/scale, S-C-A-L-E. Not that I needed to spell scale for you, but I just did. So you can just go to that website. I'll give you all the details on exactly how I've structured my strategic planning program. This is designed to help you scale your SaaS business by forging a revamped strategic plan, up-leveling your strategic narrative, and also revamping your go-to-market strategy. All the 3 components that are needed to kickstart the growth of your SaaS business. So just go to tkcater.com/scale. You'll get all the details there. And in there, if you're interested in joining, you can just fill out the form and book a call with me. And we can get on a call and we can review where you are in the business, what challenges you're facing, and see if I can help. And if I can help you through my SaaS Scale program, then we're off to the races. We'll hook you in, we'll get started right away. This is super exciting. This is a new program that we've been testing out with a few CEOs from earlier in the year, and it's just now started to scale itself with more CEOs joining than ever before, which is why we decided to do a whole video about it to tell more people about it, because we've seen so much exciting results from this program. So just go to tkcater.com/scale. You'll get all of the details, and then we'll hop on a call once you fill out the form, and we'll discuss if this is the right fit for you, and I can help you in revamping your strategy, uploading your strategic narrative, revamping your go-to-market strategy, and actually driving alignment across your team. Those are the key things that I work on with you and coaching you and making sure you do so you can scale more effectively. So that's all I had for you today. These are the 3 principles you absolutely need to know to actually build out your SaaS strategic plan for growth. If you got value from this video, please smash that like button for the YouTube algorithm. I also drop an episode like this 2 to 3 times a week, so be sure to hit the subscribe button and that bell icon. That way you'll get notified every single time I drop an episode. And lastly, remember, everyone needs a strategy for their life and their business. When you are with us, yours is going to be unstoppable. I'm TK, and I'll see you in the next episode.